I've been trying to film this video for the past like 20 minutes, and every time I get like midways into it, there's either a squirrel acting up or there's a plane going overhead. And this is the only place that I have to film right now because it's the best lighting. I don't feel like going upstairs. So that's what this video is going to be. I apologize for any background noise or anything like that. I'm going to try to edit it out. But this is an impromptu video because I have to come on here and talk about James Charles. Now, you guys know the history of James Charles. Literally, anybody that has an internet connection that is between the ages of maybe 17, 18, maybe 14 or 15 to like 35, you probably know the history of James Charles and everything that has been accused of him. Tati came out and made Bye Sister, and it was a huge thing. And then he came back and made No More Lies, and people took it as like the gospel, if you will, and like the ultimate Uno reverse card, when in my opinion it never really was. We've seen cracks with James Charles over the duration of time that he's dealt with the allegations that have been put out against him. But most recently, it was James Charles's birthday yesterday. He had a photo shoot. And of course, during the festivities of his birthday, people decided to get him a birthday cake. And on this cake, it says, "And you did it at my birthday dinner." Now, if you remember, that is a callback to what Tati said about James Charles when she came out with the Bye Sister video and pretty much decimated James on a viral level.
It's like, no big deal. Like sucking dick and cock. Like, I'm just like, oh my God, time and place. And you did it at my birthday dinner.
And he seems to think that this is funny. Now, I have to back up a little bit and give you guys a little bit of information that happened a few months ago, because you guys know that all the social media influencers go to Coachella. Well, James Charles actually went, and he ended up running into Tana Mongeau. Now, we all know that Tana has been like super duper vocal in the past about James Charles and how she didn't really like him, and how it was honestly best for her career that she like got away from him, and then she befriended Gage, one of the people that James Charles originally got called out for, like one of the straight guys that said that he was trying to like coerce him into being gay.
Most shocking two-faced influencer. Ooh, James Charles.
Everywhere. I mean, the power dynamic's such a thing. I think that with James Charles, that really started to come into play, where people, during that time, people began to actually hold people accountable for using their power against their fans. And I think that it's crazy that this year is the first year
it took really long for people to finally like start to recognize that was happening, and like
how wrong that
necessarily.
And we were we were friends.
Like when you're 18,
I was trying to take.
Didn't he get called out for like a million times, and he's like he just continues to do it over and
he's
over?
Still just it's like such an abuse of power, which I think is such a thing. Like if you're like using your power dynamic to like your young fans and like manipulate people. Weird. And it's weird. We were just friends for so long, and he like would hide so much like that from me and just do so much that, in my opinion, don't want to get sued, that in my opinion wasn't ethical or right. And you know, if I'm someone who's saying like, what you're doing is morally wrong, you gotta be doing some wrong.
It's gotta be off the
like I'm not like just out here like the moral police, like you know,
it's self-righteous Tana here.
Tana Mongeau explained why her and James Charles are no longer friends. In case you don't know, two of them used to be friends, hang out all the time, and post videos together. But in the last couple of years, Tana's been very vocal about her dislike towards James.
Who is one person you wish you never became friends with? James Charles. You win some, you lose some, you know?
Who do you still got beef with out there?
I guess my number one, people know this obviously, is James Charles. I don't like James Charles. I say that sometimes.
Why don't you like him?
Let me get out my scroll.
Well, recently Tana was on Nate's Free podcast and was asked what happened between her and James. According to Tana, two of them would fight constantly and couldn't even go an hour without screaming at each other. They'd fight over Tana being late to stuff and not posting videos in time. She also said that ending their friendship was a mutual decision, and that there are things that both of them did that the other one didn't like.
Tana befriended him, but now in 2023 at Coachella, it was revealed that James Charles and Tana made up because they had very similar outfits when they went to Coachella.
We showed up matching on purpose!
Of course. Out of all the people that this could happen to,
it's so on brand.
I love the quality of the camera.
Nothing will ever change. This might as well be a toaster.
Well, that's not where the story ends at all, of course. There's always more drama with these two, and in the past, I made a video about them, and I called them the gruesome twosome. And I still stand by that. Tana Mongeau and James Charles shaded me for calling them the gruesome twosome way before they ever fell out to begin with. But they made a TikTok while they were at Coachella. And in the TikTok, Tana said this very thing.
And you did it at my birthday dinner. Time and place.
To Coachella outfits being reviewed.
And you did it at my birthday dinner.
And you did it at my birthday dinner. Now, if you follow Trixie Mattel, she always makes fun of this. She literally always says that. And you did it at my birthday dinner. Time and place. And it's a funny joke. But for James Charles and Tana to make a mockery of this whole situation, it really leaves a bad taste in my mouth, given that Tana has been so vocal in the past against James Charles. It really just bothers me to my core that James Charles thinks that this is acceptable behavior, because literally any other person that had any kind of allegations against them, let's say for instance David Dobrik did this, or maybe even Shane Dawson, or hell, if you want to go that far, Jeffree Star. If any of them made reference or made light of the allegations that were like put out against them that have been so damning, people would be outraged about this. So I don't understand why James Charles is okay in doing this and why people think that it's funny. Like, it would be funny if it was any other person because they would be making fun of James Charles. But in my mind, this is James Charles actually making fun of that situation. There have been many people that have came out against James Charles for these specific allegations so many times, and none of them have ever really stuck because James either didn't address it or he manipulated, in my opinion, the people that it was in regards to. So here we are in 2023 and James Charles is being super comfortable in doing this, and I don't understand how it's acceptable for him to have made all of these statements that include and all this different shit about like child grooming and him actually sending underage people messages. Like, how is that okay? Why are we still standing this? Why are people okay with this? This is not something that should be normalized, especially given that James Charles has a lengthy history of this stuff. It's basically, in my opinion, him hiding all of this in plain sight.
The thing is, for me, I'm 21, but like I said, I have the mentality of a 40-year-old.
Yeah.
So for me, like, I'm much more mentally and emotionally mature than a lot of people my age. I'm not physically attracted to older guys, which sucks. Like, I would date like the absolute youngest, like 18, 19 that looks a little bit older, or like 24 that like has a young personality.
Okay.
So like I'm in like a tough situation where like it's really hard for me to find people already that like want to date, period. But then a lot of times too, a lot of the guys that I'm attracted to are either like, I had that whole thing with straight guys for a long time, I'm over that, but a lot of the guys that I'm attracted to happen to be like bi or whatever.
A few moments later,
Talk to a lot of different guys that like that live in different states as well. For this is a better example than just a dinner. Like, I've talked to guys that live in different states and stuff, and I'm like, hey, like, why don't you come visit? And like, well, I can't afford a plane ticket. And it's like, okay, well, I can, so like get on the plane. And like, well, I just don't really feel comfortable with that, but like, I love you and I really want to be together. And I'm like, well, we can't be together because you can't afford a plane ticket. You're probably still in either high school or college, like a senior in high school or in college.
Right.
So like, either you accept the flight and realize that like, this is what I'm bringing to the relationship so we can spend time together if you actually care about me. Or we literally never meet because you can't afford it.
That's frustrating.
But something else, in my opinion, that's like super duper problematic about all of this is the fact that Tana Mongeau just can willy-nilly change her mind about a person, and then everybody's perception of that person changes. These allegations that came out against James Charles, where he openly admitted to doing these things that people accused him of. So Tana, in my opinion, with all of this, is a piece of shit. Like, girl, pick a side and stay with it. I'm not even a pick a side. You know what? It's not even pick a side. Stay on the right side. You know what I mean? Like, this is Tana, in my opinion, completely negating everything that she said. I don't even know how they got into a conversation or a talk that would lead them to make up for this, because James Charles literally bullied this Gage guy that Tana then became friends with. Like, it makes no fucking sense. If you remember everything that happened with James Charles and this Gage guy, you have to remember Sam Cooke. Like, are we going to completely forget the video where that guy was sitting there like he had a gun to his head and basically recanted everything that he said about James Charles looking like a deer in the headlights? Like, here's my impersonation of what this guy Sam Cooke did. I took things out of context. I did not feel comfortable. James paid for me to have a $500 a night hotel room. And it was so cringe. It was so contrived, in my opinion. And I think that James Charles coerced that person into making that video. It was clear as day. So for Tana to just be okay and act like nothing ever happened, and to act like her forgiveness is just like this situational thing, like, it's sick to me. Like, how can you go back on so many different things that you've said about James Charles? It's really honestly disturbing, the things that people will do to shift like public perception and to get people to follow them. I know that Tana has a lot of new business ventures. I understand wanting to promote your business, but why would you want to promote your business with James Charles? Why would you make up with James Charles after everything that has been said against him and things that you yourself have said against him, Tana. Like, this makes no sense to me. And I was honestly just getting into Tana's content because Tana is relatable. Tana is super funny, but this is really disappointing to me. And it like really kind of pisses me off for all the people that follow her that are just going to like turn a blind eye or conveniently forget what James Charles has done and what has been alleged against him multiple times. It would be one thing if this was like 2 or 3 people that came out and said this and it was like they had a vendetta against him, but so many people with huge followings have said what they thought about James Charles and the different things that they have seen about him. And I really think that this is just a gross misuse of like social influence. And Tana knows that. Tana knows that she has a mega reach. Tana knows that she has a lot of followers that will just do and say whatever she says. They parrot what Tana says. And I'm not making this video to drag Tana. I'm just making this because I really truly believe that they think that they have like this mutually beneficial relationship going on, and it's gross to me. Why Tana would want to be associated with that, I have no fucking idea, unless it benefited both of them in some way. But you guys, please let me know your thoughts and opinions down below, because this left a really bad taste in my mouth. The fact that they just want to poke fun at this situation and everything that came out of Bye Sister, when in reality it was a big deal. It's still something that still follows James Charles to this day, and he is completely aware of that. I cannot believe that there's not more people outraged by this. Like, this really honestly pisses me off. And this is not me trying to like partake in cancel culture. This is me bringing this to the forefront of a conversation, because this needs to be talked about. How is it that all of these other people get canceled for like way less, and James Charles just gets to walk away scot-free like this didn't happen? Like, No More Lies was like the end-all be-all gospel truth of what happened in all of these situations. I just don't believe that. I don't subscribe to that. That is bullshit. But you guys, let me know your thoughts and opinions down below, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye, guys.